the one who opens spring. Rank S. Description: a title given to the one who defeated the master of the starting floor, the Frost Queen. Effects: plus 500% stamina and magic regeneration speed, plus 30 to all stats every time you go up a floor. At a loss for words, Seo Junho's eye widened. As if an earthquake was occurring. He reread the effects of the title over and over. These are the effects of the title. He thought it would have raised his stats by a little at best, just like Skaya's. Bloody hell. This is far greater than that. To be honest, the plus 500% regeneration speed for stamina and magic was nice to have, but it wasn't essential. However, the second effect was something else. So all my stats will increase by 30 every time I go up a floor. In other words, the effect would activate every time he went up a floor on the dimensional elevator. Hypothetically, if he made it up to the 10th floor, all his stats would be greater than 270 at the very least. Oh my god. Junho got goosebumps all over his body thinking about such ridiculous stats. When he defeated the Frost Queen, his highest stat was speed at 225. His lowest stat was magic at 183. I wasn't afraid of anything before. So if all my stats become higher than 270. The look in Seo Junho's eyes changed. His stats would be a little over 270 at the bare minimum. Now, what if he was fully equipped and maxed out his levels? And on top of that, if I restore my original stats. He could picture it clearly in his head. The Frost Queen had an incredible amount of magic. The world froze over at a simple flick of her wrist. That power. No, I could obtain an even greater power than that. That amount of power should have no trouble thawing the ice statues. After collecting his thoughts, Junho silently stared at the 4 ice statues in front of him. After standing there for a good while, he quietly left the morgue. When he exited the museum, there was a resolve in his eyes that wasn't there before. There's 10 floors? I guess I'm climbing it. Did he want to reach the top floor to achieve humanity's desire to clear the game? Or perhaps to save the Earth from destruction? Bullshit. Seo Junho knew better than anyone else that he was a selfish person. There was only one reason he decided to not quit as a player. To free my friends from their freezing, ice prison. That was the only reason he decided to become a player once again. He buried his resolve deep into his heart. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. What? You want to become a player again? The next day, Shim Diagu was shocked by Junho's sudden declaration. Junho looked up at him slyly while chowing down a large bowl of seollyeongtang, Korean ox bone soup. Why are you so surprised? It's not like I know how to do anything else. But it's so sudden. Aren't you the same guy that used to whine about how you want to retire every day? People can have a change of heart. That's true, but I don't think that's the best idea. Because he thought that his friend would have been fully on board with the idea, Junho put down his spoon and questioned him. Why do you say that? First of all, I want you to get some rest. I've personally seen how hard you pushed yourself. I think you've done enough. It's about time you let go of all your burdens and find something you want to do. Nagging, and more nagging. This guy was always nagging him, but Junho was well aware that his friend nagged him out of genuine concern. His heartfelt concern made Junho smile as he asked the next question. So what's the second reason? It's because of the fiends. Huh? Are they at it again? The silence affirmed his question. Junho quickly got the gist of the situation. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that there are more of them when the world is like this. They're harder to get rid of than cockroaches. Fiends. They are people who had no interest in closing the gates or exterminating monsters. Instead, they were the scum of society, using their powers to commit crimes, murder, and terrorism. The fiends have been rampaging lately. That's funny. When I was around, they didn't even dare to peep. Well, that was back then. 28 years ago, all the fiends in the world went into hiding. It was because they feared the 5 heroes. They accepted the fact that they were no match and went incognito into the underworld. Once the second floor opened up, things changed due to the lack of video surveillance and satellites in the frontier. It meant that there was no means of monitoring and restricting the actions of the fiends. Shim Deok-gu stared at Junho. And we lost our 5 heroes. They were probably unbelievably elated. They must have been really pent up because they started going even crazier than before. The absence of someone to fear, someone to teach them a lesson with overwhelming power, meant that the fiends no longer had a reason to hold themselves back. I think I get why you don't want me to go back to being a player. Junho slowly nodded his head. If Deok-gu was telling the truth, it wouldn't be weird if he dropped dead at any moment. He was the perfect prey to the fiends who have accumulated more power over the last 25 years. With a hesitant voice, Junho asked, "Do they still hate me a lot?" "Are you kidding? They were probably happier than anyone to hear the news of your return. Since they can finally kill you." "Fuck," said Junho with a frown. He thought he'd get to level up easily while being treated like a hero, but things had taken a turn for the worse. "That's why I'm telling you that it's a bad idea. The only way you could be a player right now is to abandon your mask and nickname of Spectre, but do you really want to do that? You could live being treated like a king while being protected 24/7 by the greatest players." The 10th floor. "I need to get there." "Wait. Why all of a sudden?" Deok-gu clearly didn't understand what was going on. The Junho he knew should have been scheming how to collect the reward for saving the world. The 3rd floor. "Have you guys found a way to clear that floor yet?" "I already told you yesterday. There's no way to do it as of now." "What if I told you I knew a way how?" Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Deok-gu frowned his eyebrows. He knew Junho wasn't the kind of guy who would joke around with this kind of topic. "Can you explain what you mean by that? You said you were looking for the Frost Queen's nucleus, right?"
Yeah.
"Why? Do you perhaps know where it might be?" "I think I do." Slurp. Junho picked up the bowl and downed the remaining broth before continuing.
Ugh.
"I ate well. We were in the middle of talking, whatever, so what do you know?" "I ate well." "Hey, now isn't the time for you to talk about your Xiaoliangtang." "But that's not what I'm talking about, though." Deok-gu started blinking in disbelief. "So if you're not talking about the Xiaoliangtang." "Wait, did you?" "Ahem. Please tell me I'm wrong. You're not actually saying something crazy like how you swallowed up the Frost Queen's nucleus, right?" When his friend suddenly got up in fury, seemingly ready to split his stomach open, Junho tried to calm him down. Whoa. You're still as hot-headed as always." "Huh. First hear me out. You. Did you really fucking eat it?" "I didn't eat it because I wanted to. It's not my fault that it got absorbed into my body as soon as I touched it." "Oh Lord. My doctor warned me I need to avoid stress," Deok-gu said, massaging the back of his neck. After a brief moment, he continued, his face now drained of energy. "I know you're not the type to bring things up if you don't have to. So, you have a solution, right?" "Yep." Junho nodded his head. "I got a frost ability after absorbing the nucleus." "Is it possible to freeze the 3rd floor's altar with it?" "It's possible," Junho answered confidently. It was an EX rank ability. If he couldn't with this ability, it would also be impossible with the Frost Queen's nucleus. Phew, that's a relief. Deok-gu nodded his head to Junho's plan. He had 0 doubts. His friend was the guy that defeated the Frost Queen, something everyone else deemed impossible. If Junho said it was possible, then it meant that it was possible. This also gave Deok-gu an insight as to why he wanted to become a player again. "This is related to your comrades, isn't it? None of them kept their promise to see me again later." I need to wake them up, so I can yell at them. Wake them up. Is that actually possible? The system told me it was. Really? That's great news. While giving a wide smile, Deok-gu started calculating things in head. It didn't take long for him to realize what Junho wanted right now. If I recall correctly, the doctors saw your face earlier, right? 9 of them saw, to be exact. I happen to have a subordinate with the ability to erase memories. It'll be best if we take some precautionary measures. They were like 2 matching puzzle pieces. Seo Junho felt more comfortable chatting with Shim Deok-gu than anyone else. Oh, by the way. My level was reset, so I'm level 1 now. Did that also reset your stats? Bingo. Sigh, why do you always save the bad news for last? After pinching the bridge of his nose, Deok-gu tried to think positively about the situation. Let's look on the bright side. Others are probably assuming that you're still as strong as ever. They probably can't imagine the Spectre being only level 1. You won't have to worry about your identity being revealed for a bit. You're able to issue player permits with your authority, right? Well, the thing is. Deok-gu made an unhappy face. After the second floor opened up, guilds have become more powerful than the World Players Association. Did you guys lose the authority to issue permits? No, that's not quite it. Instead, a few guilds now stand in as observers during the association's player permit test. Only people who have passed this open exam are able to receive a player permit. I can't get around this rule even with my authority. Tisk, that's annoying. There's a lot more rules and regulations than before, but think about this as an opportunity. Deok-gu's eyes glimmered as he spoke with excitement. Think about it. In order for me to fully back you, I need a proper reason. Aha, I see. Deok-gu was telling him to get the best possible results on the test. If Junho proved that he was a player worthy enough to grab the attention of all the guilds, Deok-gu would be able to provide massive support in the name of the association. Of course, you can't use your darkness skill at all. If possible, you should also hide your frost skill. I get darkness, but why frost as well? The fiends also know that ice-related skills are the key to clearing the 3rd floor. It'll be best if you don't stick out in that regard. I get it. Laying on the hospital bed, Junho lightly cracked his neck. My body is ready. What equipment am I going to use for the test? Unfortunately, his first-rate equipment was currently unusable due to the level and stat restrictions. So, they were just being safe-kept in his inventory for the moment. You'll be able to select them on the day of the test. Everyone has to use the same grade of equipment for it. Seems fair. Junho couldn't help but smirk. It's honestly quite refreshing. Can you believe that I'm being evaluated like this after all I've been through? Just don't go too crazy. As for me, I guess I'll need to create an identity for you. Date of birth, background story, acquaintances. I guess I'll be pretty busy for a while. How long do you think it'll take you? 4 or 5 days. How long do you think it'll take you to get ready? About a month? After hearing that question, Junho had a cocky smile on his face. 1 week. That'll be more than enough. Physical Therapy Facility Number 12, Hanguk Hospital. Seo Junho sat on the floor. In the middle of the room, with his legs crossed and eyes closed. It was a technique for improving the flow of magic power. He learned it from his comrade, Ramadat. Getting my body back in shape will be no simple task. It would take at least a few months for him to train his body. Of course, he couldn't just spend his time training for who knows how long. That's why he decided to start with stuff he could improve on right away. My magic stat is only 18. It was a pretty unimpressive stat. Even slightly talented players often awakened with at least 20 magic stat. Damn, I'll have to struggle like hell again to increase my magic. Reminiscing his old memories brought a shadow to Junho's face. The day that he awakened as a player was also the day that he swore vengeance after losing his family. That was when he obtained the S-rank skill Watchguard of Darkness. However, it took half a year before he was able to use the skill properly. There was a simple reason. This stupid skill. It requires so much fucking magic. As powerful as it was, it required equally as much magic to use. Junho, who possessed less magic than the average person, did everything he could to make up for his weakness. All your stats increased by 1 every level. When he had just become a player, that was the only method he knew to raise his magic. So he killed monsters again and again to grind up levels. In the time that a person would go hunting once, he went on a hunt at least 3 to 5 times. While others were hospitalized from injuries. He just put on some bandages and continued to hunt. After a few years of repeating his hellish routine, he had become the world's greatest player. Phew. After emptying his thoughts, Junho started slowly gathering the magic inside his body. The magic started flowing through his entire body, awakening his magic circuit. I've gotten real rusty. Due to not using it for 25 years, his magic circuit has fallen into a deep slumber. People commonly compared magic to trains, and magic circuits to train tracks. It was only natural for an unused train track to become covered in foliage. It was the same thing for Junho's magic circuit. It's been so long since any magic has flowed through it that it became rusty. Most players actually don't concern themselves about such details. Since no matter the condition, one can still use magic. However, Junho was the kind of person who felt unsatisfied if his circuit wasn't in tip-top shape. I already lack magic, I need to at least use it as efficiently as possible. There was a smaller loss of magic when it passed through a clean and clear circuit. That's why Junho always maintained his magic circuit as best as possible. I'm only at 70% magic efficiency. This is basically unusable. Junho collected the little magic he had onto a single point and unleashed it onto his rusted magic circuit. Magic quickly started rampaging through his circuit, which was spread across his entire body like tree roots. As magic coursed through the circuit, it slowly scraped off the impurities. Swoosh. When he opened his eyes again, 3 hours had passed. His entire body was soaked in sweat. Sniff, sniff. Luckily, I don't stink. Maybe it was because he was trapped in ice. There weren't much toxins built up inside him. This was good news. It meant that he could just focus on getting his body back to its optimal condition. After getting up from his spot, Junho tried gathering some magic. Unlike 3 hours ago, he was able to gather magic with greater ease. 95% magic efficiency. It's less than what I had, but this isn't too bad. This satisfying sensation was the reason why he took good care of his magic circuit. With a satisfied smile, he tightened his fist. Junho started gathering all the magic he possessed. It was time to test the limits of his skills. Whoosh. The darkness created by magic bloomed flamboyantly, like a drop of black paint that fell in water. Someone who has seen this for the first time might even describe it as beautiful and approach it. But anyone who knew the truth about this skill would never do such a stupid thing. Darkness was more heinous and violent than any other attribute. Kook. Junho's face started crumpling while maintaining the skill. Cough. Cough. Unable to hold it anymore, he started hacking and coughing. When he was able to lift his head back up, the darkness had subsided, wiping the spit off the corners of his lips. He thought to himself, so this is my limit with my current magic. Many thoughts rushed through his head. In this case, how should I utilize it in real combat? How did I fight when I used to lack mana? I really am fucking short on magic. After searching through his memories, he quickly found the answers. I could use it as a blind or a trap, since I can only momentarily affect physical matter. He would be able to blind the target or grab their ankle. That was all he could do right now with his insignificant amount of magic. Once I replenish my magic, let's look into my frost skill. Thanks to the effects of the one who opens spring, he could notice the fast recovery speed of his magic. Once his magic was fully replenished, he squinted his eyes and thought. I wonder what it's like. He was so curious, he thought he would go mad. When he gained proper control over the S-rank Watchguard of Darkness, he became unmatched. Frost was EX rank, so it should be even stronger. He was honestly even a bit terrified. Is this thing also going to eat up a shit ton of magic? With a worried face, Junho slowly closed his eyes. Like this, or no, is it like this? Darkness and Frost. The two abilities were similar in that it created something from nothing. Thanks to that, he was able to activate the Frost skill much easier than he anticipated. Sure. The ground he stood on froze solid. In contrast, there was a warm smile on his face. It uses up less than I expected. As an EX rank skill, it definitely took a bit of magic, but it used up similar amounts of magic as Watchguard of Darkness. That meant that it had a great magic to performance ratio. If it only takes this much magic, I think I'll be able to use it in actual combat with just a slightly higher magic stat. Also, unlike Watchguard of Darkness, he didn't have to experiment to figure out how to optimally utilize it. I've already seen enough of how it should be used. Junho battled against the Frost Queen for over 70 hours. That means he learned her techniques for 70 hours. And he didn't just see it. He experienced it firsthand. I can't wait for the examination. The wide smile on Junho's face wouldn't subside. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. A week flew by pretty quick. During that week, Seo Junho trained his body and memorized all the materials that Shim Deok-gu brought over. Most of it was a summary of major events that occurred in the last 25 years. All right, I'm ready. Pop, pop, pop. Junho cracked his neck and put on some casual clothes. He was planning on getting discharged from the hospital on top of taking his test. Though, there will still be a body double that will occupy this bed for me. Officially, Spectre was still bedridden. The association released a public statement saying that he was in critical condition and needed at least a few months to recover. Reveal Spectre Nim asterisk to the public. T/N, Nim is an honorific used in Korean to refer to someone with respect. Reveal him. After leaving the hospital, Junho walked away from the chaos of loud reporters and civilians. Some were even using a megaphone. Reveal my ass. Do they not feel sorry for a hospitalized patient? Though, if they had any common sense, they wouldn't be making such a ruckus first thing in the morning. But he really couldn't comment more on it, since he was the root cause of the commotion. After getting on a taxi, he immediately headed to the Players Association headquarters. They must have spent a pretty penny. The 80-floor building had an elegant, curved design. In front of the building, countless people were gathered. They were all people applying for the player permit exam. Junho had pre-registered, so he was able to enter without having to stand in line. Please rest in the waiting room for the meantime and enter once it's your turn. Junho glanced over at the queue monitor. Number 75. He still had a bit of time until his turn. Clamor, clamor. The waiting room had a surprisingly relaxed atmosphere. It was because the permit exam didn't have a limit to the number of participants that could pass. As long as you were skilled, you would pass. So there was no need for people to be conscious of each other. Phew. After sitting down at a chair, Junho crossed his arms, closed his eyes, and listened closely. He was able to gather intel that wasn't found in the very formal materials that Deok-gu handed him. Did you see the news this morning? Finally, the ancient dungeon on the second floor will be raided, the Sky's Breath will. Apparently. Today's judge will be the association president Shim Deok-gu of all people. Sigh, if I fail the exam again, it'll be my third time. It's been 2 years since I awakened, but I still haven't been able to pass the test. Am I really that untalented? Does anyone know which weapon has the highest probability of passing? There really isn't any super useful information. That shouldn't be surprising, since it was a conversation among people that haven't even become a player yet. In fact, it would be more shocking if they knew any valuable intel. The moment he opened his eyes after losing interest in reconnaissance, an announcement started. Participant number 1, please enter. A humongous holographic screen appeared in the center of the waiting room. One could clearly observe the situation inside the testing room with it. Soon, participant number 1, who just finished selecting his weapon in the prep room, came up on screen. A spear. He was holding a long spear, and his face was full of anxiety. However, the exam didn't care for his condition, starting without any warning. Oh ho! Holographic monsters charged at the man. He took a large swing with his spear, advancing towards the monsters. That made them slowly back off.
Oh,
Isn't he quite fierce? The monsters are retreating because they're scared. I'm so jealous. Number 1 looks like he's going to easily pass. Amazement from the participants who didn't know anything filled the waiting room. However, Junho simply shook his head. Come on. That's not how you use a spear. The spear was a weapon that was most effective when you secured a safe distance from your opponent. Getting that up close meant that he had no proper understanding of the spear. And would you look at that? The man fell down on his ass after getting tangled up with the monsters that charged back at him. With that, the combat was over. The monsters disappeared in an instant, and the man held a dazed look while he was given the notice of failure. So this is how this goes. Seo Junho could feel his body itch, full of anticipation. He wondered if he would be able to feel the sensation of cutting against holographic monsters. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The layout of the judges' room was quite unique. One side of the room was a glass wall, which gave you a complete view of the examination room. In front of the glass wall was a cushy sofa, where 10 men and women sat. This participant is also pretty lackluster. He appears to have not studied the characteristics of the monsters or tactics to face off against them. That kind of preparation should be essential for a player. I think it'll be best to fail him. One by one, the guild's observers spoke. But unlike the usual, they were unable to strongly voice their opinions. They all carefully gave their 2 cents, watching the mood of one of the people in the room. I'm of the same opinion. Let's fail him. Though the Korean Players Association might no longer have its former glory, he was still the president of the association. All the observers were careful to not upset Shim Deok-gu. Bring in the next participant. As soon as Deok-gu finished speaking, an announcement was made. After a minute, a new participant entered the examination room. At the same time, multiple observers frowned. Sigh. Every test, there is always at least one person who does this. Isn't this way over the top, though? Sword, bow, throwing knives. Even a spear and a gun. He basically brought in as many weapons as he could. Despite lacking understanding of the weapon, they always bring in a whole bunch like that. They probably think that the more weapons they have, the stronger they become. Do they think that they're Spectre or something? Looking at how skinny he is, I'm even doubtful of his ability to take care of himself. This participant had what people commonly called the Spectre disease. They were little greenhorns that wanted to copy Spectre, who was called the master of all weapons, aka, the walking arsenal. Their common characteristic was that they carried around multiple weapons. Even we're baffled. I bet this really grinds your gears, President. What do you mean? Well, aren't these people imitating your close friend, Spectre Neem? And you were closer than anyone else to him, the one that people called the perfect player. That is indeed true. This is quite a funny situation. After finishing his sentence, Deok-gu couldn't help but let out a faint laugh while looking down at the examination room. I told you, participant number 75, please enter. It's finally my turn. As soon as he heard the announcement calling for him, Seo Junho entered the prep room. Inside, there was an association employee that started talking to him. We welcome you, participant Seo Junho. Yes. You can select any weapon you want from this room, and once you are ready, you simply have to exit through this door. Junho looked around at all the weapons displayed in the room. On top of the 18 arms of Wushu asterisk, bows and pistols. There were even unique weapons like halberds prepared. TN, the 18 main weapons of Chinese martial arts. The actual list of 18 weapons differs depending on the school of martial arts. There's no limit on how many weapons I can take, right? Yes. Every once in a while, there are people who pick more than 2 weapons. That's good to know. With a face full of excitement, Junho started grabbing weapons left and right. First, he holstered a Glock 17 to his waist, and hung a bow and quiver on his back. Next, he secured 5 throwing knives onto his thigh and a sword to his waist. Finally, he picked up a spear. Watching Junho, the employee let out a small sigh before asking, "Participant Seo Junho, are you planning on bringing in all those weapons?" "Can I not?" Sigh. "No, you can." The employee shook his head. Because he's seen many other participants like Junho, he knew it was pointless to advise them against it. Having lost the ability to give a fuck, he handed Junho a pair of gloves. "If you've finished preparing, please equip these gloves." Noticing the blank face on Junho, he started explaining. "This is a magical tool that lets you interact with the summoned holographic monsters in the examination room."
Oh.
That's cool. Junho put on the gloves. And after a final check on his weapons, he raised his head. "I'm ready, so am I good to go?" "Yes, you just have to enter through this door." Junho opened the door and entered the examination room. The room was much larger than it appeared on screen. And the entire room, wall, floor, and ceiling, was white. "Participant Seo Junho, are you ready?" Whoosh, swoosh. He nodded at the speakers while gently spinning around the spear. "Then the evaluation will commence." Immediately after the announcement ended, monsters started spawning all around him. This is even cooler in person. The holographic monsters were so vivid, it felt like real monsters were in front of him. While being in awe, Junho already finished analyzing the monsters. 20 dwarves asterisk, huh. It does seem like a few too many for a beginner. TN, it is possible that the monster that the author is referring to is a gnome or some other short mythological creature here. This was the reason why the passing rate for the permit evaluation was not even 3%. The average height of a dwarf was 130 centimeters. Compared to a human male adult, they were much smaller, and their physical abilities matched their small physique. As much as the players knew this fact, dwarves were even more self-aware of their weakness. Dwarves are smart and cunning. They were monsters that used their relentlessness and cunning to make up for their lack of physical prowess. So if you underestimated them and recklessly approached them like participant number 1, you will find yourself suddenly knocked over. And if you ever get knocked down, it was game over. Their daggers will tear you apart like you're Julius Caesar. Junho couldn't help but chuckle, watching the dwarves who were on their guard against him. This is making me nostalgic. The ugly, drooling dwarves reawakened his old memories. Things have really gotten better. We didn't have stuff like this before. Permit evaluation? Holographic monsters? Such luxury. Long ago, the only way to become a player was to risk your life and enter a gate. If you came back alive, you were issued a permit, and if you failed, you left no traces of your corpse. Back in my day, you had to put in a thing called effort. And I mean a lot of effort. T/N, Oki Boomer. Effort to not die and effort to kill the monster. And even after putting in a lot of effort, it was still common for a player to die because they were simply unlucky. After living through such a turbulent time, holographic monsters were funny to Junho. They might be really great imitations, but they were still fakes created by an AI. Will this make them attack me? Junho slightly shifted his hips, purposefully creating an opening. Without any hesitation, dwarves charged at him while hissing. 1.5 meters. The spear he was holding was approximately 130 centimeters. Taking his arm length into account, he was able to take complete control over the 1.5 m radius around him. Of course, the mobs made of data in front of him wouldn't know such things. Cruff. Key egg. Tightly gripping their daggers with both hands. Four impatient dwarves jumped towards Junho. They planned on swinging at his head with all their might, but the moment their bodies were at the apex of their jump. Heave-ho. Junho had a small frame, yet the muscles on his arms suddenly ballooned up. Pow-pow. The spear blew up the heads of the dwarves at lightning speed. Their bodies turned into polygons and disappeared before it could even hit the ground. Kiru. Hiss. The death of their comrades halted their charge and made them disperse. Dispersing and surrounding a stronger enemy. They've done a good job replicating their behavior. Junho planted his spear into the ground. But that's not going to be enough against me. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. With his left hand. He pulled out the 5 daggers on his thigh, and with his right hand, he readied his Glock 17. Start with the guys behind me. Fwoosh. Junho threw the 5 daggers behind him. Bang, 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 bang. The Glock 17 spat fire. 5 with the daggers. 4 with the pistol. In a literal blink of an eye, 9 dwarves disappeared before they could even let out a peep. Q. Kurang. The massacre dampened the bloodthirst of the 7 remaining dwarves, making them slowly walk backwards, away from Junho.
Oh.
So they even feel fear? Having read the emotions off their eyes, Junho was entertained. Damn, this is pretty sadistic. Can you kill a monster that has lost the will to fight? That's what the test was asking the player. Well, I only have one answer for that. Junho grabbed the bow that was hanging on his back, immediately drawing an arrow. Keeg. Succumbing to fear, the dwarves started running away. Due to their small size and quick speed. They were a beginner archer's worst nightmare. But I have weapon mastery, and Gilbert taught me archery and gunmanship. Gilbert Green was one of the 5 heroes. He was a gunman known as the Grey Envoy. I can't smear mud on his face now, can I? Puyuel. As Junho drew his bow, the dwarves started running faster. Despite being holograms, their desire to survive was even greater than real dwarves. Junho closed one eye and aimed at his moving target. His form was textbook perfect. Whoosh. The arrow was shot without any warning, piercing the dwarf's back. An amazing feat, as the dwarf has been zigzagging. However, Junho wasn't satisfied by this. He quickly grabbed another arrow. Whoosh, fwip. Whoosh. 3 arrows flew one after another, creating 3 polygons. Phew. After the last show, he put down his bow and caressed the scabbard of his sword. The finale should be this guy. The sword was the weapon he had been using the longest, so it was also the weapon he was most confident in. Kiak. Did they realize that they would die no matter how much they ran? The final 3 dwarves charged back, their eyes bloodshot. Brush. Even though the dwarves were charging at him, Junho just stood there, stroking his scabbard. He drew an imaginary line, 1 meter in front of him. It marked the maximum reach of his sword, and it was also the death line for the dwarves. Kaak. Krokrug. The moment the dwarves crossed the death line, Junho smirked as he gripped his sword. If you cross the line. The steel of the sword revealed itself in a flash. Swoosh. Slice. A single, clean-cutting sound echoed, and the beheaded bodies of the dwarves dispersed as polygons. You deserve death. His display of skill was enough to impress anyone, but Junho looked down in disappointment at his hand wielding the sword. I really have gotten dull. It shouldn't be a surprise, but his current skills couldn't even hold a candle to him in his prime. That wasn't the only lament. It hurts. Having pushed his body to its limits, his bones and muscles were screaming in anguish. In order to explore the gates, I'll have to build up my body a little. While making a face of displeasure, Junho listened to the results of his examination. Pass. Participant number 75, Seo Junhonim. Congratulations on passing. Asterisk. Incredible. I literally don't know how to describe it any other way. When Junho's test was over, the observers couldn't hide their amazement. Normally, they sat in their chairs feigning refinement, so their action of sticking to the glass window with excitement spoke for itself. I stand corrected. He isn't some discount Spectre copycat. From the spearmanship that perfectly utilized its range, to the usage of throwing knives, marksmanship, archery, and ending with that powerful but refined swordsmanship, his understanding of weaponry is outstanding. And look at the balance of his body. Just by looking at him, you can tell he lacks muscle mass to the point that it's almost pathetic, yet he's able to move like that? The observers couldn't stop complimenting Junho. That's when the only other person than Shim Deok-gu, who has been remaining silent, started speaking. Looking at his profile, his only skill is weapon proficiency, and it's only D rank. Huh? Only D rank? The observers quickly clambered down like they were a fire that got sprayed with water. It's not even his sub-skill. But it's his only skill that's D rank? That doesn't seem too promising for me to back him. So this is that case. Someone who put all their effort into the one skill they possess. I wonder. Did he put everything on the line for this evaluation knowing that his own skill is lackluster? It really won't be worth it to invest in him. I almost got tricked. The observers quickly finished their calculations. If his skill was even at C rank, they would have scouted him to their guilds. But it's only D rank? Of course, if they invest enough, and with a bit of luck, he could become a top-tier player. However, they were scouts of profit-seeking guilds. Winning a gamble tastes sweet, but nothing is more bitter than losing one. Why should I pick the harder, more dangerous road when there is an easier path? I do like his sense of combat, but I'm not quite sure about signing him. Without even realizing it, he was being treated like chicken ribs, not enough meat to feel satisfied. But that didn't mean you should just let someone else have it. It was a perfect metaphor for a player that they didn't want to sign on, but they also didn't want to let another guild have him. Deok-gu watched them struggle with their dilemma, peacefully taking a sip from his coffee. This should be enough pretense for me to bring on Junho without ruffling any feathers. Junho exhibited a perfect result in the evaluation. There was enough of a reason for him to fully invest in him, even if the scouts were hesitating to sign him on, deeming him as having little potential. It almost makes me feel bad for hiding the skills he has from them. Seo Junho was a top-tier player that could handle not one but two elements. And he also possessed a myriad of skills. Even the weapon proficiency, D, skill they think he has is actually weapon mastery, A. I'll have to get the windows cleaned once the evaluations are over. As he put his coffee cup back down, a smile of a winner was faintly visible on Shim Deok-gu's face. After signing off the final paperwork that needed approval today, Shim Deok-gu lightly organized his desk. He wore a bright smile as he finished his work for the day. Damn, this novel's so hilarious. A dark shadow wiped away his smile. He could see a nuisance in front of him. A nuisance that was lying down on his office sofa, eating chips and drinking cola while reading a novel. The most respected player in the world, the player that everyone aspires to be like. Deok-gu thought, is it okay for someone like him to have that honor? After letting out a deep sigh, he approached Junho. What are you reading? Huh? It's a novel where the main character is a priest, but all he does is swing his sword around instead of healing. What a crazy-ass priest. Taking a seat on the sofa directly opposite him, Deok-gu tapped his Vita, holographically displaying a few documents. Take a look at these. They're the stuff that you asked for. Junho's eyes glimmered as he lowered his book. He closed his book and sat upright. reading the digital documents floating in front of him. Damn. They're all what I asked for. You really are good at your job. Diakgu felt conflicted while watching his friend who appeared happy. No need for compliments. Tell me why you needed this data instead. You're not planning on rating them, right? Of course I'm rating them. Why would I waste time researching them if I wasn't planning on entering? What? But... Diakgu quickly skimmed through the displayed documents. They were information on all the uncleared gates that people haven't been able to clear during the last 25 years. You know what it means to be uncleared, right? A mistake inside a gate equals death. You think I wouldn't know such a basic fact? Players that have gone inside uncleared gates died without even leaving behind a corpse. Don't worry. They're still low-level, easy-ass gates. I guess they don't even have any stars yet. Stars? What are you talking about? Junho's question made Diakgu exclaim, "Oh, right. I forgot. This is something that became a thing while you were asleep." Diakgu tried to explain it as simple and fast as possible. Stars. They were given to a gate every time over 10,000 players died inside it. This idea started 17 years ago, and a total of 14 gates have received stars so far. Up till now, there hasn't been a gate where more than 20,000 people have died, so 1 star is the highest rating a gate has ever received. A total of 11 of them have been cleared so far. The remaining 3 gates are called the 3 Great Uncleared Gates of the world. Wait a sec. Haven't I cleared a few gates with over 10k deaths before? While he was Spectre, there were a few gates with over 10k player casualties. They were gates that were far more common in overpopulated countries like China and India. I think I cleared 4 of them. That's right. Publicly, Spectre has obtained 4 stars. Does that give you a feel for the strength of 1-star gates? Yep. So you guys call them 1-star gates now. They were clearly different from the other gates. Compared to other gates, the boss monsters that appeared in them were on another level. The 1-star gates that Junho remembered were places like that. Wait, if I only have 4 stars? Does that mean the Frost Queen's nest had no stars? Of course. She never killed 10,000 people. You guys were the first challengers of the nest, Diakgu said, shrugging his shoulders. The current 9 greatest players, aka the 9 heavens, all have at least 1 star. What a childish nickname, calling people heavens. Are you jealous? What do you mean jealous? Junho replied with a pout. Diakgu continued while thinking how cute his friend was. Anyways, you're still just level 1. Even if they don't have any stars, I think uncleared gates are too risky for you. Diakgu, have you ever heard of this saying? Junho lifted his chin, made a cocky face, and spread his arms wide onto the sofa. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Are you not embarrassed saying that about yourself? Nope. It's the truth. Why should I be embarrassed? If he wasn't sure he could clear it, he would have never attempted them. To Junho. Hunting was the one thing he was always cold and analytical about, never letting his emotions sway him. What are you so worried about? Besides, aren't uncleared gates a pain for the association as well? That's true. But I don't want to send my friend somewhere dangerous. Junho couldn't help but let out a sigh, seeing his friend having grown old and full of worries. I know this is supposed to be a touching moment, but I'm going because it's beneficial to me. Beneficial? Beneficial how? The longer a gate goes uncleared, the more EXP it gives as a reward. Gates that haven't been cleared for years end up accumulating a ton of EXP. So what, you want to go into an uncleared gate just so you can level up quicker? Because that's the fastest way for me to level up. Can't you just safely grow stronger by raiding normal gates? With your skills, your growth rate shouldn't be slow at all. Not being slow isn't enough. Junho looked at Diakgu with a serious face. As long as the fiends are after me, time is not on my side. That's why I need to level up as fast as possible. He needed to become strong at least to the point that he could fight back even if his identity gets exposed. The only people who can go up to the second floor, the frontier, are players above level 30. Getting to level 30 as fast as possible was Junho's current goal. Having heard Junho's honest words, Deok-gu nodded with a heavy expression. I didn't think that far. I didn't realize you were feeling so much pressure. I wouldn't call it pressure. To be honest, he just wanted to beat up the fiends that were after him, not knowing their place. However, Junho had no plans of correcting his friend who thought he became more mature. Then the first gate you could enter. Looking at the documents in front of him, Deok-gu's brows frowned.
Oh no.
There's only one uncleared gate for a level 1. It was a monstrous gate that swallowed up a total of 142 players since it appeared 7 years ago. Since only a level 1 players could enter, people call it the novice's grave. Even the name of the gate gave people the creeps. The Curse of Dawn. Junho shrugged after reading the name of the gate. The name honestly makes me think that zombies might appear. There's no way to know until you go in. The clear condition is to survive until sunrise. That's nothing. You're always too confident. However, Deok-gu could never blame Junho, since he had the skills to back up his confidence. Deok-gu took a card out of his coat pocket and handed it to Junho. Here's your sign-up bonus. It was the money he received by signing a contract with the Player Association. As soon as Junho took the card, Deok-gu grinned super wide. From today on, you'll be my underling for a year. You think it's funny? Wanna get bossed around by your underling? A 200 million won asterisk signing bonus, an annual salary of 1.5 billion won asterisk, and even additional rewards and benefits for gate clears. Those were the terms of the contract that Seo Junho signed, terms never heard of before for a newbie. Right. For your housing, what if you resided here in the Player Association building for now? We have a residential area for association players here. That doesn't sound like a bad idea. It would guarantee my safety. There were over 100 players that lived in the association building. And a magic barrier covered the entire building. Unless one was beyond bats hit crazy, one could never even dream of attacking here. Junho quickly made a decision after taking all the factors into account. I guess I'll live here, but make sure to give me a room with a view. As you wish. If you do well, I'll even give you a whole floor. I look forward to it. By the way, Deok-gu carried over a huge box from the corner of the room. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, he signaled Junho with his eyes. Open it up. It's your armor. Armor? Filled with expectation, Junho opened the box right away. Inside the box, there was a leather armor set. Leather armor was always his armor of choice, so he quickly picked it up. After scratching the surface of the armor with his nails, he nodded in approval. And it's durable? This is way better than I expected. Of course it is. It's made by the Quan Noya. What? Junho's eyes widened. Who was Quan Noya? He was a world-class blacksmith who used to swing his hammer only for Spectre. That old man's still alive? Isn't he at least 100 years old? He turned 98 this year. He passed on his workshop to his grandson long ago, but he's still well and alive. Damn. Well, I can't just take this without showing my gratitude. I'll have to go see him in person. He was ready to leave right away, but Deok-gu stopped him. I can't let you do that. What? Why? We need to be cautious of everything for your own safety. Are you doubting Quan Noya right now? Junho sharpened his eyes. It wasn't an exaggeration to call Quan Noya his first ever comrade. It's not him that I'm doubting. Deok-gu shook his head. His face was saying, how could I ever doubt him? It's the eyes of the fiends and guilds that I'm cautious of. So they have eyes on the workshop. It can't be helped. It's well known that Spectre and Quan Noya were close. Now that Spectre had returned, it was unavoidable for people to keep an eye on Noya's workshop. If Junho visited the workshop and met Noya, it would raise suspicions. There weren't many people in the world that had the privilege of talking face-to-face with Quan Noya. You're right. If a novice player went to Noya's workshop, it'd definitely raise a few eyebrows. I sent someone to explain the situation to Quan Noya while they were purchasing the armor. I'm sure he'll understand. Good work. He was a bit disappointed he couldn't go see him in person. Though he was a raggedy old man that complained non-stop. They shared a close bond. It can't be helped. I'll just have to wait until I've leveled up a bit. Besides. Junho looked down at his scrawny arms. That geezer, he's even better at giving a lecture than Deokgu. If he went to the old man in his current state, he couldn't even imagine how many hours he'd talk his ear off. Smirking, Junho got up from his seat. Thanks for the armor. What about weapons? There are quite a few useful things in the association warehouse. So feel free to use whatever you want. After quenching his thirst with coffee, Deokgu asked a really important question. So, when do you plan on raiding the gate? Originally, I planned on going right away, but the evaluation changed his mind. I was so exhausted after only killing 20 dwarves. A gate, especially an uncleared gate, would be a much more difficult trial than fighting 20 dwarves. I might be short on time, but I should get back in shape. That's a good plan. How long do you think it'll take you? Since I just need to meet the bare minimum requirements. Junho gave it a thought with his eyes closed. 10 days. Let's set that as my goal. Time flew by in a flash. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. Mount Kianma in the city of Namyangju was just slightly shy of the safe zone. And so, 7 years ago, a gate appeared there. A self-driving taxi stopped in empty Kianma's parking lot, which was located very close to the gate. From the taxi, an average-looking man in his mid-20s got out. So this is the place. The man was Seo Junho, who managed to gain a bit of weight in the last 10 days. He was still skinny, but his eyes had a new shine to them. Junho stared at the 4-foot-tall blue oval in front of him. Gates. Mysterious portals that were connected to unknown worlds. Riddled with traps and monsters, you could trust nothing inside a gate. Only trust yourself. And in order to trust yourself, you needed skills to back up that faith. He knew that better than anyone else, which is why he trained his body like a madman for the last 10 days. It was quite difficult. From the moment he woke up, until he fell asleep, he didn't stop training. He only stopped to eat for nutrients. It couldn't be helped. In order to improve his body with maximum efficiency, he had to be that rough on himself. Fortunately, the results of that hell-like training were satisfactory. Seo Junho. Level 1. Title, The One Who Opened Spring. STR, 25 STA, 27. SPD, 31 Mag, 18. Though he wasn't able to raise his magic stat, he was able to raise his strength from 21 to 25, stamina from 24 to 27, and his speed from 26 to 31. It's best to raise your stats as much as possible before you start growing. That was because it became increasingly harder to increase your stats from basic training as you level up. Now, shall I head in? An empty parking lot. A parked self-driving taxi. And a stray cat. That was everyone that witnessed Seo Junho's entry into the uncleared gate.